Hi, I'm Rick Henthorn with Acurus and Aragon. We love answering your questions, and I've created a series of videos doing that, and let's keep them coming. Send your questions to sales@indieaudiolabs.com. Hi, I'm Richard Henthorn with Aragon, Director of Sales, and I would like to show you what makes our amplifiers special, what makes them worth consideration, and more importantly, what makes them stand out in the sea of other products. You're going to find things that are also Class AB, high biased. They're going to claim and tell you all kinds of things. And while there are a lot of good products out there, this is what makes ours absolutely stand out. So when you're looking at amps, you're going to find that everybody talks about a couple things. You're going to hear words like wattage. That's the power. That's what it takes to give you some fun SPLs. That's what it takes to drive speakers. You're going to hear about high current. What that means is the amplifier can handle low impedance loads. A speaker that has a challenging impedance curve. And back in the day, that was an Apogee Scintilla or something like that, went down to 1 ohms. Got good news for you guys. An amplifier that has excellent control, damping factor. You're going to hear about things like Class A power. And I'm going to kind of hit all the high notes on what makes these things special. So first of all, we kind of have the trifecta. We have all these things. We have an amplifier, whether it's our titanium or our Iridium. Our titanium's our stereo amp. Let me just hit you with the numbers real quick. Titanium, 200 watts, minimum guaranteed power, 8 ohms, 400 at 4, 600 at 2. Conservative numbers, you'll reach them on any practical household circuit. That's rated at a very low distortion percentage. And best yet, that's still a very fast amplifier. Slew rate is 120 volts per microsecond, and it is a full dual monoblock amplifier, meaning that everything in it is completely separate for channels. So you have a channel card per side. The inputs go right to that. There's no common input board. There's no common power supply. There's 2 transformers in the titanium. So that's why we call it a dual monoblock. It is 2 amplifiers sharing a box. It does have 1 power cord, but truly it is 2 completely separate devices. And then we have the Iridium, which takes everything the titanium does and doubles the slew rate. It doubles the 8 ohm power, so we have 240 volts per microsecond, twice as fast. We have 400 watts at 8 ohms, minimum guaranteed power. 600 at 4, minimum guaranteed. Now, in real life, guys, if you have a 20 amp circuit for your Iridium, you will get a much higher 4 ohm number, okay? But we have kind of a conservative minimum guaranteed approach, 1,000 watts at 2 ohms. It will drive 1 ohm. It will drive less than 1 ohm. It will keep making more power until, that would be crazy loud. I can't imagine a speaker that's so low in sensitivity you can't drive it with this amplifier. It has a ton of power. So behind me, these are the Iridiums. The titanium looks exactly the same except it says titanium on it, and you only have to buy 1. If you're looking at Iridiums, unless you like listening to 1 speaker, you're going to have to buy 2. And so you get a pair of Iridiums, what's that do for you? So I'm going to talk about the monos first. I just gave you the specs. What does that mean? Well, with slew rate, you're going to get some crazy imaging cues. 240 volts per microsecond. You're going to be able to not only get the sound that you've heard before that wraps around you or goes over your head, but it's going to be more tangible. Your sweet spot's going to widen. You're going to be able to have some freedom in your room. If you're experiencing audio with a significant other, a friend, whatever, you will be able to have a more enjoyable time. Slew rate does that. Great speakers combined with this speed is fun and tangible for more than just you. I did a demo where we play a song that has a plane overhead, and you're able to experience that in more than one place in the room with this kind of amplifier speed. You hook up something else that will diminish, and that's repeatable. That's not an opinion metric. That is something we can prove. Power. I talked to you about some numbers already. These will drive anything but a dead short, and again, that's a minimum guaranteed power. It is a very, very conservative number. And you guys, a lot of you guys will buy nice cables and things like that. Well, we have got elegant circuitry. This is one of our channel cards. This is going to be a very similar card, whether it's a titanium or an Iridium, but the difference is titanium is going to use one of these per channel. The Iridium will use both of them in a bridge-tied load, so it's a fully balanced amplifier. And one of the coolest things about this card is it's a simple, elegant circuit. Everything that can be simplified and made elegant is. We do have 12 output devices. We do bias this amp well into Class A. And what that means is your first watts, you're going to get Class A. Now that applies to anything, right? You could buy a surround AVR and you're going to get a fraction of a watt or maybe a watt Class A. Every AB amplifier delivers some power Class A before you break out of using both devices on. In this product, that range is going to be about 24 watts on the monoblock and 12 on the stereo, which is a realistic number. There's people out there that will promise crazy stuff. For you guys to spend significant money on cables, or at least take into account running a heavy gauge cable to your speaker, something you guys will appreciate is most output relays on a product are the size of this guy. This output relay on our product is actually taking the bias off the amplifier in a protection event, which these are protected against shorts and DC and things like that. This big old dude, yeah, this guy, about half the size of a playing card, is our output relay. This can switch a 3 horsepower motor at 277 volts. It has industrial applications, and we use it for an output relay. And what that means is on something like this, which what you find in another amp, your contacts are very small. It's like taking 2 ballpoint pins and pointing them at each other. That's your contacts. In this guy, you have like a 1/4 inch diameter contact. It's a much larger contact. You're getting a much better connection between this amplifier card, the wire, to the binding post. And that's going to make your effective damping factor better. That's going to just be better all around sounding. And why would you spend big money on speaker cables to put your sound through a tiny relay? So overall, bill of materials wise, this card is like artwork. If you take any of your stuff apart, which is fun, you look inside of our amp, I am proud of what you'll find. You'll find large transformer. You'll find massive filter caps, the size of a beer can, made in Europe. Not, definitely not cheap stuff. Our bill of materials is very generous. And you look at this card, again, it is simple, elegant circuitry. Anything that's done for protection is at a high resistance sensing kind of circuitry, not in series with the load. It is absolutely not in the circuit as far as sound quality goes, but it is sensing. And that way, if something actually goes below like a half a cycle, true DC, you do have protection and things like that to help protect your speakers from those kind of faults, but we do it without any sonic compromise whatsoever. So that's the card. Back to the capacitors in our power supply, again, the sides of a typical kind of soda can. I have a big hand, so it's not showing that off very well, but this is huge. Bolts to the rectifier board, made in Europe, and the cost of this is 4 to 5 times the competitors if you look at something similar. Very high-end stuff. We do that because of the ripple properties and things like that. We want a really good power supply. And so all that stuff I showed you with the channel card and that capacitor is the same, titanium and iridium. But iridium, again, you're going to get double the 8 ohm power, you're going to get double the slew rate, and the other big difference is you have one massive transformer instead of a pair of dedicated transformers per channel. So it uses that massive power supply as one unit. That's what makes the amplifier special from a power standpoint, from a speed standpoint. And the last thing, this is important, you get yourself some nice speakers. What is all of that without control? Our amplifiers offer excellent real-world damping. And so when you have all that speed and you have all that power, it's nothing without control. That's like a car that is full of horsepower and no handling. Well, we've got handling. Our damping factor, our output resistance is very low. With that giant relay, we're able to, let's say, have a damping factor at the binding post that is approximately the same as what it would be at the card. There's a lot of manufacturers that'll quote something at the output of the channel card, not at the binding post. They do that because that gets around the limitations of that relay and the wiring, etc. We don't have to do that. We use the monster relay. It all helps. And so it's going to dampen unwanted cone movements, and your bass is going to be tight. It's going to be tangible. It's not going to be bloated, and so you're just going to have the trifecta. Great imaging, ridiculous power, and excellent control. And most importantly, at a price that, when you realize what's inside and what you're getting, absolutely punches above its weight. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. We have more stuff coming. I look forward to your comments, and please go to our website, www.acurusav.com, www.aragonav.com.